Hard hat game.
It's a hard hat game, folks. I mean, this was a hard hat game of all hard hat games. They came to work, steel toe boots, lunch pails, and hard hats. This was
Jimmy wore this all day. He never took it off.
Al Horford worked overtime tonight, guys. Overtime. He ain't ready for retirement, man. He's working. He came to work tonight.
It's like Tom Brady shit with Al. He legit looks younger than he did a few years ago.
42 method.
Yo, this was Al Horford from Florida. Good, Al Horford. This was like what he did to be the number 3 pick before he got to the NBA. The dunk on Giannis, the baseline jump, the fact that his first 4 shots. I mean, Al Horford could not have scripted a better played game for himself than what we saw tonight.
Best moment too. Giannis with his little dunk and his mug and Al just goes, okay.
Okay.
And when he's nodding, I'm like, you might be biting off more than you can chew there. Like, careful. I was like, easy. But wrong.
Al's the man out there
Never
tonight.
poke the old dog when he's just lying there. Never
he was
poke
like,
him.
Okay, I've got that. And don't tell me that elbow was inadvertent. It was not.
Oh no.
And honestly, I think he was lucky only to have gotten a dead ball tech there.
I'm surprised that Al didn't get something a little bit more harsh.
Because that had a purpose.
He never does that. And it was Al's way of saying, that was his scare now.
Yeah, you're not the only one that's going to bully. Yeah, exactly. He's like, I can play that way too.
Well, I love that because bully ball is the reason they won this. You had both Al and then Marcus Smart, those 2 plays in the post when he's like, wait a second, I'm tougher than you. I'm just going to back you down. Once he does it to Holiday and once to Allen, friggin' huge. Marcus going to the basket. And again, what's so amazing too, and Marcus did it multiple times. A couple times he just sliced through, with uncontested left-handed layups. Those 2 post-ups at the end were huge because they really needed buckets. And nobody's been able to do that. Tatum, Brown, they can't get to the basket. And Marcus is like, okay, wait a second. I'm going to do the Giannis thing. I'm just going to bully my way here against whoever you decide is guarding me right now. And it worked. And those buckets were enormous. So bully ball tactics kind of flipped on their head. This game is so amazing to me because it's almost like the Kentucky Derby. Like you didn't mention the winner until like there was a few seconds left. Like the Celtics weren't winning this game. And then they were up by 10 points and the game was over.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're up 10. Yeah, it was crazy.
Like they weren't going to win. Then they're up 10. Then it was over. Like that. It just kind of happened. It was unbelievable.
All of a sudden you saw Bucks.
Oh, Sherrod, I think we lost your audio. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to say this was an example of what happens when you punch the bully in his mouth and then you realize you're as big, if not bigger than the bully. You hit as hard, if not harder than the bully. And that's what we saw in the fourth quarter. That is exactly what we saw. We literally saw the Bucks wilt before our very eyes in this game. Because the minute that they got hit in the mouth, the minute Tatum starts knocking down shots, the minute that Al continues his dominance, which he began from the outset, they had no response. Because they had not been hit like that before in this series. Now we're going back, even up, deuce.
This was so impressive this fourth quarter because you basically, that Jaylen Brown 5th foul, I thought was going to be the backbreaker because he was just starting to sort of get going downhill and, looked like the aggressive Jaylen Brown that you needed in this game because Tatum was kind of passive for the majority of it and they just weren't getting anything going in that third quarter. Then Brown gets hit with the 5th foul and you're like, here we go. Like, the next couple minutes here could really determine the whole series. They somehow cut it to 7 going into the fourth. And then, like John said, I mean, the lane opened up and all of a sudden, strike rich, coming down the inside. And all of a sudden they've got the 10-point lead. So, I mean, we talked about Al. Tatum, he had a big boy fourth quarter. I mean, that's the type of quarter that, gets you in that conversation and keeps you there of those superstar players. This is right now, through 3 games, he did not have the performance that you want out of your superstar.
Yeah.
And through quarters,
the best player for the Celtics in this series has been Al Horford. I don't even think it's even an issue. And to me, and again, I love Al, but he shouldn't be your best player. No disrespect to Al, who's playing amazingly awesome, but Tatum has to be better if they're going to close this thing out. Al has done his part. He's literally giving you it's 2-2, but you really should be up 3-1 when you look at the game that game that they lost the other night. The way Al played, you should have won that game. But again, Tatum has to be better. But give him props, as Jimmy pointed out. He stepped up when it mattered most in this game.
Yeah.
And again, I know that wrist is still giving him problems. I know that with absolute certainty. It's a problem, and again, this game certainly makes it feel a little bit better. But keep an eye on that risk. Wouldn't be shocked if Tatum, for example, got a cortisone shot or something like that to go play tonight. Would not be shocked at all if that happened.
Yeah. It's amazing, and both of you guys have written game stories on Deadline before. And this was a tear up all the copy and start all over sort of game, because with the exception of Al playing well, it was, by the way, the Celtics wasted a good effort by Al Horford, but you would have gone in on Tatum for, again, just not turning in a superstar performance on a night where he needed to, coming off of his game 3 performance. And, Giannis seemingly kind of dictating, and asserting his will over the Celtics, just not getting enough contributions from people. Rob kind of out of nowhere not playing in this one, which was a total shock. And I know people would have been like, dude, man up here. Like, soreness is not, you're hurt or you're injured. You can't be probable for game 5 and not be able to play in game 4. Like, you just got to suit up and play 7, 8, 10 minutes if you have to. Again, I know it's a surgically reconstructed knee, but like, all of that stuff was going in the wrong direction for them. Jalen on the fouls, we were going to get all in on the refs again, and then boom, Al obviously saved their ass there in that fourth quarter, and that got them within striking distance. And then Tatum turned on the Jets when he absolutely had to, and that was it. And then those two Marcus buckets. But I mean, Milwaukee almost just stopped, right? Like, it just.
Aside from the
Celtics turned up the pressure. Defense was great, but they just stopped.
It kind of felt like they were like, oh, wait a minute, they're starting to play a little bit. Oh,
yes.
Shit.
They weren't ready. The Celtics turned up the juice, and they were not ready for it.
They weren't.
Giannis was sucking air at the end.
Yeah.
I mean,
Giannis was sucking wind. Absolutely.
You know why? They're making his ass work harder than he has at any point in the series.
Because he's got to play defense too.
He's got to play defense too. I mean, he's the reason why Tatum was not more impactful at the start of the game, because he's sliding over there, filling it, basically playing kind of like the way Rob does defensively, kind of like that free safety type. And that wears on you, because we look at Rob, who does that. He plays that for what, 20, 25 minutes? Giannis got to do that shit for like 40, 45 minutes? Guys aren't built to play both ends of the floor at that elite level and be impactful at both ends of the floor for an entire game. And I just thought part of what Celtics' success was that he ran out of gas.
And this was another game, John. We were kind of texting about it. Like, as bad as it looked at points, it was like the Celtics were always in the game. It was like, how are they still in this game? How are they only down 7? How are they only down 8? How are they only down 5? How are they up? Like, how do they have the lead right now? Wait, how is it tied? It feels like that's been the whole series with the Bucks. It's like the Bucks can never capitalize, can never like push the Celtics far enough away where they're comfortable. The Celtics are always finding a way to claw back or keep it close, even when they're not playing good basketball.
In all the games,
in all the games. And then when they do go on that little run, you saw it in game 2 right off the bat. And then tonight you saw it in that fourth quarter. All of a sudden they go from down 7 to up 10. And it didn't take much time. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like when this team starts to click and when the shots fall and they play hard on both ends, that's it. Like no one's really able to compete with that.
Right. The Celtics have probably played 4 good quarters this series, and they're 2-2. And that's what's so strange about it. This is almost the reverse of like what happened in the bubble against Miami a couple of years ago in the conference finals, where it felt like the Celtics had control of the game, but couldn't put them away and then would just kind of fold late. And I know it's still only 2-2, but this could easily be 3-1 if the Celtics, cashed in on a golden opportunity in game 3 there. But they're there the whole time. Milwaukee can't. We were talking about it on the thread again, and Bobby mentioned this, and Bobby and Josue will join us in a little bit. They're down there in Milwaukee as well with Sherrod. They don't have the firepower to put you away. It really feels like a one-man team there on offense. They got a couple threes late, but from Allen and Matthews, but they're just not getting. They just don't have the firepower right now to put you away without Middleton.
And that's the point I was about to make, John. This is where you see the absence of Chris Middleton absolutely being a death blow to them. Because these are the moments that the way things were playing out in the fourth quarter where Al had it going, those are the moments where Middleton has been so huge. He's been such a Celtics killer. He makes the big shots in those big moments, and you don't have anyone who can do that. Giannis is a great scorer, but he's not knocking down shots. He's not knocking down perimeter shots to loosen things up. And if you're making him work as hard as he has to work at both ends of the floor, he's not going to have that same vigor down the stretch. We saw that. He's still an incredible player, but down the stretch, there was a noticeable difference in his ability to attack defenses and get to the rim that, frankly, just wasn't nearly as impactful as it was through the first three quarters.
Yep.
And Drew Holiday, who I love as a player, I love Drew Holiday. But 5 for 22, 16 points, that's not going to get it done. That is not going to get it done.
No. And he got bullied by Smart in the end.
Jimmy, your hard hat beats my Celtics cap.
Yeah.
It's fair.
It's
fair.
I'll take that any day of the week. Yeah. I mean, this isn't going away, boys. Every time they come to work, the hard hats come out. That's just what it comes down to.
I'm going to need some new hardware.
You are. I think, everyone we should start selling hard hats is what we should do.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jimmy.
Hard hat merch.
Nick, merch idea.
Nick,
okay.
Nick.
You can
merch alert.
Jimmy's gonna bill you for a meeting. For a brainstorm session.
Expensive hard hats are. I actually, true story. I got this at the TD Garden. It's a legitimate hard hat. This will.
I literally want to text Nick right now and just say merch alert, merch alert.
Merch alert. We're selling hard hats for the next. I'm not gonna say next round. I'm gonna say for the next game because we know that there's going to be at least 2 more games to go here. We're definitely playing Wednesday night. We're definitely playing Friday night.
Yeah, we should. Al and Bobby should be doing this game in front of a Horford jersey right now. If we're talking about doing it in front of Celtics swag.
He's gonna step away for that post game interview.
I may make him wear it to the next game. I may make him wear it.
Oh man, hey, it's well deserved. I mean, people are trust me, Bobby's not the only one. People are rifling through their drawers looking for their Al Horford jerseys right now that they put away 3 years ago. But man, you might see a lot more Al Horford jerseys on Wednesday night at the TD Garden. I think they're going to be coming out.
I just can't believe. I know we're all over the place because so much happened late here. I can't believe Marcus it just with the confidence that he delivered those 2 buckets late. I mean, especially one of them with Holiday all over him.
Holiday just backed the whole way down.
Oh my God!
He just backed Holiday down and just put up the little.
He's just like, I am stronger than you.
Yeah, I thought he was going to do the little Westbrook after, but he didn't.
Oh my God! All of it was incredible. I mean, that I'm so floored by those 2 possessions. They were so. I mean, because we've seen Marcus kind of do too much late in games. Like, I don't know if I want you with the ball in your hands. Something just felt calm about that. Like he was like, I got this. I'm getting in there and I'm going to do this. And it was like, I mean, I was just so blown away by those 2 buckets by Marcus late.
I think he just recognized that the help wasn't coming, that it was just him against Drew. And I think for most of the game, he had one eye on trying to make something happen, but one eye on either Brook Lopez or Giannis, who were coming to play that free safety role essentially. But when it was clear neither one of them was going to help Drew, he just said, listen, little fella, I'm going to back your little ass down and give me some buckets. And he did it. He did it consistently. I mean, again, this was, we're going to talk a lot about Al as we should, but damn it, there were so many other guys that did little things that we had not seen for 3+ quarters that they were able to deliver when it mattered most. Tatum making shots, Marcus recognizing ways that he can impact the game offensively, and a guy that we haven't talked about at all, and maybe we'll talk about it later.
Derek freaking White.
This was the D White game. He was so.
Can you guys tell the difference?
Frame that. John giving Derek White a thumbs up.
Because what we do when people play well, we say it, and when they play poorly, we say it. People get mad at the latter. Okay, this was a good Derek White game. The 0-point game was not a good Derek White game. So again, it's not all about the points, but Derek White was huge, and they needed him here with Jalen in foul trouble and Grant kind of not being great. White was a closer, and that's kind of what you envisioned him to be, right, Sherrod?
Yeah, I did. And in this particular game, the only person who had a better plus minus than him was Al Horford. Yeah. And when you can have the plus minus working for you, you can have actual points working for you. When you pass the freaking eye test for impact in the game, this was the most important game Derek White has played for the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
In terms of scoring, in terms of defense, in
Defending
terms
Drew,
of
all of
defending
it.
Drew. He did everything that
awesome.
he made giving up that first round pick and players so worth it for a game like this. Because if they lose this game, the season's over.
Difference maker. And again, that's kind of the point, is you need that, especially you're down a starter and you're going really thin on your bench, and a couple of your stars are a little banged up as well. I mean, you got Marcus with the thigh, Jalen with the hammies and 5 fouls. Tatum's got a wrist thing going on right now. Everybody's a little bit off. So you need White, not just to give you minutes, to give you difference-making minutes. And that's a huge thing. Want to address the comment up here. Yes, the post-game interviews will be on this site as well. So you can definitely keep it here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel here on CLNS Media and our Celtics All Access channel, where we will deliver a lot of kind of analysis and clips and other things there that you can catch in addition to all of our Celtics podcasts. One thing I want to tell you about, I don't know that we need this right now, but I do want to mention one of our sponsors, calm.com.
We always need it, John.
It's always good. We're hyped up right now, so we can calm down just because we need to, we don't want our hearts to explode. We're gonna talk for a little bit here, and we've got the series still has games to go. So being calm isn't terrible, but we want to tell you.
Yep, we got a long way to go.
We want to tell you about our sponsor, calm.com, the #1 sleep and meditation app for you right now. Go to calm.com/garden, receive 40% off a Calm premium subscription. This is worth it. We all actually use this. Jimmy swears by it. Music, rainforest sounds, whatever it is, great stuff to help you kind of chill out, relax, sleep, anything you can need. Great music, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. So go check that out if you would. It really is a good deal. 40% off, calm.com/garden. If you go there, you get 40% off a premium subscription. Check it out. You may feel like you don't need it tonight. Trust me, you will at some point. Again, need it during these playoffs, I guarantee. Calm.com. Even this, you got to come down off the high a little bit, right?
We got to go to bed at some point.
It's a school night, right? We all got to work tomorrow. So again, Celtics beat the Bucks 116-108. The series is tied at 2 with Game 5 at the Garden on Wednesday. Bobby Manning and Josue Pavon, as well as Sherrod Blakely, are all in Milwaukee right now. Bobby and Josue are in there, getting the goods, getting the dirt, getting interviews. I'm curious what comes out of Bud's presser tonight. He's gotten really salty lately.
You know what? I will say this,
salty Bud.
I will say this, though. This was actually one of the few games in this series where I don't really have an issue with Bud's coaching. I thought he made
not the coaching. He's just mad he's mad about the fouls and stuff like that. But yeah,
and I get it. But this was like one of the few games where I didn't. In fact, the challenge that he had on that offensive foul that they eventually called on Jalen, I think Jimmy pointed out earlier. I thought that was going to be a game changer. I thought that was going to be the point in the game when
you're right.
Milwaukee would just go on their run. And they originally called a blocking foul on Drew, but they called the foul on Jalen instead. But again, Bud, you're right, John. He's going to find something to bitch and moan about. And it's, he's going to complain about, fouls not being called and all that crap. But at the end of the day, like I said before in game 4 or game 3 when they lost, I don't really give a blank about the officiating. You still have to make plays. It always comes back to, are you making the plays that you can make? And Milwaukee did not in this game. They had opportunities down the stretch to win this thing, and they failed to do that. Just like the Celtics had opportunities down the stretch in Game 3 to win that, and they didn't get it done. Officiating is a factor, but don't bitch and moan about the officiating as if that's the reason why you lost. That's not why you lost. You lost because you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. When both sides are, I think the consensus is the officiating is bad and inconsistent. One play is a foul, the same exact play is not a foul, but you're seeing it both ways. It's a freaking mess. Stuff's being called that shouldn't be called at all, and stuff's being not called that's so flagrant or egregious that it just scratches your head like how. So how the inconsistency is what's killing you because you just can't get into a flow. But when both teams are complaining about the refs, you have to kind of acknowledge it's just a mess out there. It's a mess. So everybody who says the refs suck is right, but I don't know that it's the deciding factor one way or the other tonight. The other day it felt like they were really pro Milwaukee, but the Celtics had way more free throws. Tonight it's a different story where Milwaukee has more free throws, but both sides are getting murdered with the officiating. I think it's been brutal both ways, and then there's the Giannis factor, which is he gets away with what he's going to get away with. That's not new. It's not breaking news. It just is what it is. So yeah, I don't put the losses on any of it. It's just messing up the series, So it's worth complaining about in the sense of like, it's screwing up good basketball. This is fun, competitive basketball with two teams playing really friggin' tough. It's a battle out there. You don't have to interject yourself into every single thing, which is what the refs are kind of doing right now.
You would think that the refs would have gotten that phone call by now,
but they're so physical. I think they feel they have to get involved, but then they're doing it and then not doing it because they're going with flows and I've called this many, I can't call it again. They're just kind of making it up as they go. They're trying to manage the game and not calling everything individually based on merit or based on whatever's happening at that moment.
Right. Yeah, but a lot of the fouls that they called on the Celtics, particularly those illegal screens, were legit calls. I mean, you can't lunge into a guy when you're setting a screen. They're going to call that, especially a team like Milwaukee that knows that the minute you make contact with them and your name is Grant Williams or Daniel Tice, they're going to call the whistle anyway. So they just got to be smarter about that stuff. But man, this was a great game, man. This was a good game.
Yes.
You know what?
It's great.
And we all said this after game 3. None of us were. The Celtics were down 2-1 in the series, but none of us were like they're huge. I mean, maybe Bobby to an extent. He was a little bit more worried than we were, but I think we all thought that the Celtics were capable of taking at least one game.
Bobby needs calm.
In Milwaukee.
He really needs calm. He needs like if there was an IV calm, Bobby I would absolutely get him the syringes and prick him for that shit.
He needs a calm drip.
Exactly. Right. He needs calm drip. That's what he really needs.
That's the next subscription that we're working towards there.
That's the deluxe addiction.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
That's a premium stuff. That's a premium stuff. Did Nick just give us money?
Did he?
I don't know.
I saw he was in there. I saw him say exhale, but I
think he donated money to us. You guys can do that, I guess. I guess that's a thing that people do. Yes. Anyway,
gotta eat.
Yeah, so I mean, again, trying to, you're riding the high on the win, trying to gauge in terms of like, has anyone figured anything out? Like, did you get a sense of like the Celtics figured something out that they can do more of or differently next game, or it's just every game's gonna just be a rock fight, and then whoever's left standing at the end? Because that's kind of the vibe I've got with the series. Is it's tough to take a game like. It sucked that the Celtics lost game 3, but I didn't enter game 4 thinking, oh, it's so bad. I feel like each game, both teams almost have a coin flip's chance of winning. That's just kind of what it feels like with no carryover whatsoever from the previous game. It's two teams that make like the strength of both of these teams is making the other look bad. That's what they're good at right now. So as bad as the Celtics look for huge stretches of time, they're also making Milwaukee look really friggin' bad too. And Jimmy said it, like, you just look up, and if you feel like the Celtics are playing their worst basketball of the season, and at the worst, it was like a 7-point game, and you're like, they're right there the whole time. So I don't know.
Well, they're playing poorly, and they're right there. So it's like, just play your brand of basketball. Don't let the Bucks dictate. Don't let Giannis. I mean, I shouldn't say that because he's going to figure out a way to do it, but don't let the rest of the Bucks dictate the way the game's going to be played. Play your style, play your physicality, move the ball around, and then you've got Al Horford in this just crazy, just turn back the clock, Benjamin Buttons type deal going on right now, where he's just aging backwards. I need to know this guy's workout routine, skincare routine. I need to know everything about what he's doing to age this way, because he's playing the best basketball of his career right now. I mean, it's his first 30-plus point playoff game. And I forget the number, but they said it's the longest it's taken a player to hit the 30-point flat mark in the playoffs. I think I don't know. I tweeted it 60-something games, I think. But it was just an unbelievable, stretch of time that he's been in the playoffs without hitting that number, and he's doing it. So
yeah,
this guy's just playing like unreal basketball, not just tonight, all playoffs and really all regular season. I mean, he's an unreal regular season, and he's just carried it right into the playoffs. Why not Al? Hey, why not Al? This guy deserves a championship.
Well, the
I
one
think
thing.
and Sherrod, not to cut you up, but I think he's actually inspiring some of these young guys too.
I
think
know he is.
his
I know he is.
play is getting these guys going. Like Tatum got fired up in that fourth quarter too. Watching Al sort of set the tone early on, and like they're rallying around that type of a play.
Sometimes you got to low key embarrass your teammates to get them to play better. And when you watch Al out here, 35 years old, he's the oldest guy that's making a significant contribution in the series, and he's outplaying you 12, 10, 9 years his junior. That's embarrassing. And so you either have a choice. You either let the OG continue to carry you while you don't do squat, or you step your game up and get the damn victory and get the hell out of town.
Well,
and he did that. And the one thing, and just one last quick point, John. The one thing that, getting back to your original question, just about what do we learn from this?
Right.
In-game adjustments are absolutely critical in this series, because there's nothing that you're going to do in your preparation that's going to adequately prepare you for what's going to happen on this floor. That has been the difference, I think, in every single game. One team made subtle adjustments, and they weren't major, but they were noticeable. Like, for example, remember early on, all the Celtics did was shoot threes and try to go to the basket every now and then. And then all of a sudden, they started looking at the mid-range. Jaylen Brown starts shooting from the elbow. Al Horford, dribble drive, kick to Al, shooting from the free throw line. They started taking advantage of that mid-range real estate.
And we've been talking about that since the early going, is you have to do it. And what was frustrating is Tatum did get to better spots today, just didn't hit makeable shots. And it was starting to get really frustrating because that was like what early season Tatum was doing, was he was getting his shots, he just weren't going in, and he wasn't finishing around the basket very well. Again, he gave up one or two layups, which drive me freaking crazy, which I don't want to see. But I felt like to answer my own question, I do feel like he started to figure a little something out. It didn't all drop for him, but it was definitely after 3 games of him, and I know one of them was a 30-point game, I do feel like he did start to kind of move in a direction of like, this is what I'm going to probably need to do to be able to score here. Still not a perfectly clean game. One time there was a turnover and he didn't get back on D again. Like he's got to clean some of that stuff up, but I think he inched a little bit in the right direction.
I had to clear up my Al Horford stat.
Yeah.
Al Horford's 131 career playoff games before his first 30-point outing are 41 more than any other player in NBA history. Clifford Robinson, 90 games before his.
Yeah.
So 131 playoff games Al Horford has been in over his career. His first 30-plus point game tonight. And honestly, looked like a freaking boss out there.
Good point by Fuzzy here. Both games the Celtics won were games that they were missing a starter. It's just a bizarre series that's really been hard to figure. And when Sherrod, one thing I wanted to kind of piggyback on that you were saying, when you see Al going out there, whether it's embarrassing people or inspiring people, whatever it is, it really is amazing to me that this team played the way that they played in the first part of the season with guys like Al and Marcus here to clearly lead by example. And to have Al, I don't think this was I think he snapped them out of it a little bit, which is like, this guy's going balls out here. But yeah, it just made me think, like, I don't know how this team ever got so far off track with the type of like hard-nosed veteran leaders that they have, lead by example sort of guys. And then just Al's just like, everyone said, just fountain of youth sort of stuff here. It's not just having a 30-point game and incredibly efficient shooting and the 3-point shot looking better and being more confident in it and going 11 for 14 in the field. It's this spryness, like when he had that dunk on Giannis, I think Van Gundy said, like, this isn't stuff we've seen from him ever. You just don't see him kind of do that sort of stuff. And of course he's dunked before and this and that, but it's like, he just looks, he looks incredible. I'm just really awestruck by it.
He made a shot in the second half, and after he made it, I'm watching him go back up the court, and he's just trotting along, bouncing up and down. I'm like, wait a minute, Al's like happy. He looks like Al from Florida.
He's amazing. If it's possible, his eyes are even more beautiful.
Yeah,
that's impossible, John. That's impossible.
They're even more lustrous.
You can't stare at him, or you'll get lost.
He's like the anti-Medusa with those eyes.
Oh my God.
No, you know what?
I ask Al questions like this.
But he looks fit. He looks all right. Don't look right at him, or else you'll just be like, "That's
I forgot my question.
I'm always nervous when Bobby interviews him in person. I'm like, is he just gonna lose himself in his eyes?
Hey, Al, you played really well tonight.
I was going to ask you something, but I have no
Yeah.
No, he was great. He was so good. And just again, giving him everything. I mean, the scoring, shots, rebound, his defense. This was the total package.
Sherrod, he's physically must be feeling great, and I know over the years he's battled some lower body injuries and such, but you don't see or hear anything like that. His confidence must be at an all-time high right now. I mean, the way he's carrying himself out there in the court, just listening to him talk after the games, like he's in a good space, definitely. And I think he's leading a lot more by example than really anyone's ever maybe given him credit for. I think we all know that he does, but I think maybe this year, maybe more than ever, he's really embraced that role. And I think the guys gravitate towards, what he's doing out there and what he's able to give them off the court too. So I just think that he's just adding so much to them right now.
He is, and he's become a matchup problem for Milwaukee. You better believe when they go back and look at the film, they're going to try to minimize his impact. And if you're Jason Tatum, that could be a good thing. If you're Jaylen Brown, that could be a good thing because now all of a sudden you're one big who can stretch the floor. Now all of a sudden he becomes a bigger priority for them to try to galvanize. Because again, Al, I mean, most of the shots he took were open. Most of the shots he took were just literally taking what the defense was giving him. And if you're Milwaukee and you try to take some of that away, that's going to leave Tatum and Brown and Marcus Smart available to do more things.
Yeah, with everything. I know Milwaukee does what they do, and they're trying to get you to shoot threes, and the Celtics fell into that trap in the first 3 games, and they're just shooting more threes than twos. And, obviously the game that they win is the game where they knock down a bunch of them. But, again, you got to take advantage of what they're giving you, whether it's certain matchups or the drop coverage, which is going to allow you to take those little pull-ups or those floaters or whatever it is there. They just got to figure out a way to kind of, exploit it a little bit better. And that's what I'm wondering if maybe there was a little bit more of that tonight. And I want to look a little deeper into some of the numbers to see where some of the stuff came from. But I mean, the whole thing I'm just floored by. This was a dead ass team when they were down 7 in the third quarter. I was like, I'm not seeing where this is going to come from here. And they were so flat and so out of it. And then Al just woke them up. And then they just went from there. It's just, I'm trying to think of a game like this where, it was this bad and then boom, just like that. And they got to give all the props to Al. He brought him back from the dead.
You got to give some to Tatum too. I mean,
he did, but Al brought him back from the dead.
Tatum kicked the coffin. Tatum kicked the coffin doors open, but they were 6 feet. They were 5.5 feet deep before Al just started climbing and pulling him out of the grave.
Al was doing it before the fourth quarter too. I mean, he was doing everything he could to keep these guys in it, and so you got to give him credit for that. I just thought that we were all screaming at our TVs, and I'm sure people were tweeting, "Need Tatum now! Need Tatum now! Any minute now!" You got to get a little bit more aggressive and try to take over in some capacity. And I think that he did that in the fourth quarter. Now, I'm not saying Al obviously didn't. I mean, Al had the biggest fourth quarter of them all, but Tatum was right behind him, and those were the two guys. Like you mentioned, John Smart had a couple of cameos towards the end there, but it was a 2-man game in that fourth quarter, and they just did what they had to do. So I got to give. We've talked about Tatum bordering on this line of superstardom and whatnot, and this is the type of performance that keeps you in that conversation. Other than just sort of. If he continued on in that same way the first half went, then we're criticizing him like crazy tonight. He's the story of the game.
Sherrod said it in game 3. Tatum sucked ass all game, and all you needed was for him to be Jason Tatum for 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever.
And 5 Tatum, give me 5 minutes, and we got it.
And that's it. And they would have had game 3. He did it tonight. That was the difference.
I think, John, to your point, I think the way this team is built, you can win a lot of games with him being great for 5 minutes.
Right.
And if he's
because you're going to make life so hard on the other team, it's going to be hard for them to separate. Even when you're doing everything wrong and your offense is a mess and you can't get into any flow and your stars are slumping, you're always in the game as long as you're playing defense. And again, he may stressed it early on. If we do this, we're good, man. Move the ball, play defense. We're going to be in every single game, if not dominate these games when we execute. Let's bring in Bobby Manning for the Daniel Tice report from Milwaukee here. Bobby,
don't touch anything.
What's going on?
Hands off my stream, pal. What's going on? I know you were listening to some of the interviews. What's the vibe down there?
Yeah, we'll get to the tight stuff at the end, but we gotta get Al Horford's moment resonate for at least.
Show it to me. Show it to me, Bobby. Is it under there?
Yeah, what do you got?
It's hanging up back home, and it's gonna hang up.
42.
It's gonna hang up time, and this is.
It's gonna be a case. It's gonna be a case when Bobby gets back. Watch.
This is a beautiful moment. I mean, for his career. I mean, come on.
John, where's the music? John, where's the music? Where's the music?
He comes back, doubted, pretty eliminated to the OKC Philadelphia stance, just trying to find his place here again. But it seemed like he had bigger visions on how he wanted it to go, and he's allowed that to happen through preparation, through sustaining, through the best shape of his life this year. And he was obviously the key to the last series, has been the key to this series to this point, defensively in the first two games, and now offensively these last two. And you just think of this moment. They were down 10 with 2 minutes left to go in the third. From that point on, they outscored the Bucks by 20. Horford's running the ball into the half court, pulling up, taking all the shots that are available, and continuing to get stops on the other end. He's been the best. This series features Giannis, Holiday, Tatum, Brown, and Horford has been the best player. And think of that. And this is a moment that, depending on how this shakes out, is going to be in Celtics lore. I mean, he stole this game. He stole this game. He stole the series from the Bucks here. The Bucks were taking a 3-1 lead tonight, and he went out there and stole it. It's just legendary stuff from a player who I don't think most people looked at as legendary coming to Boston. Really good all-star level player. Some of the stuff that he's accomplished with a franchise that's had a lot of great players now, changing the culture, having phenomenal playoff runs now 3 times in his career. This one becoming the third. It's amazing. I mean, this guy, probably my favorite Celtic ever, and I think endeared himself to a lot of Celtics fans around the world tonight.
Oh man,
there's no doubt that Al has played a great. There is a lot. I'm just gonna jump on one point. Al has been phenomenal, and he deserves all the credit, all the praise, all the adulation that he's getting. But Bobby, there's no way in hell that he's the best player in the series. He's the best Celtic.
He's been the best player in the series. I'm not saying he is the best player.
Really?
What's the Greek guy's name again?
Yeah,
he held Giannis to, what was it, 8
Giannis,
of 18
right?
through the first 2 games. And I still think the numbers probably stand up pretty strong after this game. We'll have to get them when they update. But when he's guarded Giannis, no one's given him a harder time.
I mean, sure, Giannis is the best player in the series, but when Al,
I know he's the best player, but for these 4 games, who's been the best?
Yeah, when Al bodied him there with that dunk and then punched him in the face, at least symbolically, that was obviously a massive moment, and possibly series turning. I know, Bobby, there's a little hyperbole here with Celtics lore and X, Y, and Z. It's game 4 of a second round series.
I'm saying depending on how this shakes out.
It's a big game. What I will say is that dunk, when you're going to look back at like the glove slam, like Jason Varitek hitting A-Rod in the face with his glove is the moment that turned the Red Sox season around. You might look at these playoffs and that dunk on Giannis as
that's going to be on a YouTube highlight reel.
Depending on how deep the Celtics go, that's a real turning point moment. That
a lesson in modesty here.
Swinging this game and possibly swinging the series. Because while we weren't sure what was going to happen in this game, I think a lot of us agreed, and a lot of people I talked to agreed. The winner of this game feels like they would have the leg up on the series. Certainly Milwaukee up 3-1 would be commanding, but Celtics winning this game and going back home and earning home court back would really feel like they'd be in good position here. And you have to feel a lot better about, obviously, their chances in the series after coming in here and taking that game. And that moment's going to be the one where we're like, that was it. That's what turned it. That's what turned the entire game, and that's what turned the series.
And if you're the Celtics, you got to be feeling like, you know what? We basically got our asses kicked for 3-ish quarters. And getting down by double digits in the first quarter, being down fairly large in the third, and we won. I mean, we didn't just win. We went on by double digits in the fourth quarter after getting our ass kicked for 3+ quarters. If you're Boston, you're going home feeling not only good about your chances of winning this series, but of getting to the NBA Finals. I mean, you're taking these. This is the team that was the last team standing a year ago. There is a different kind of confidence that you build within yourself when you can take the champ out. Regardless of whether they're as good as they were the year before, it doesn't matter. They are the ones that went into the season with the crown, and you just snatched it from them. And that is invaluable when you're trying to do what the Celtics are trying to do, which is do the improbable, which is bring home banner 18.
And he was mad, Al, in that presser after the last game. You talk about the lost opportunity of Game 3. Feeling like the Celtics could have possibly come out of here up 3-1 if, as you said, Sherrod, Tatum made a few plays and they were able to seal that out. He came out here intense, and you talk about that dunk, John. Just a moment, and you saw him in the third quarter, too, shaking his head. That intensity, Al's such a calm guy that when he shows that level of intensity, you know it has an impact. And the way they blew them away from that point on, you can tell it had an impact on Tatum. You can tell it had an impact on the way they guarded. Everything stemmed from Al here in this game. Credit to Udoka, who noticed the way the Bucks were guarding him, gave the Celtics an opportunity to swing the ball his way a lot more. He told Horford to be extra aggressive considering how the Bucks were guarding him. And it's going to continue to be there. Now, in terms of the consequences of this, like I said, John, they have to seal it out. They have to go on to win a championship for that to be the level of impact that this game has historically from Al. But they set themselves up well here to do it with 2 games left in Boston. I think it's going to take 7 games still. I'm not counting the Bucks out. If they lost Game 3 ahead by 13 to begin the fourth, I would have been ruling the Bucks out. But this one, I think they can get up from. I think they'll still feel good about the way Giannis is playing, the way they got Connaughton, Allen, Matthews, some of those guys going. But underrated in this game, we want to swing it to Tatum. Wes Matthews picked up a 4th foul pretty quickly after Grant and Brown picked up their 5th there in that third, fourth quarter sequence. And Matthews was the guy who had been shutting down Tatum the most this entire series. Hill checks in, and the floodgates open Tatum there. Really opportunistic moment for Tatum there to attack Hill.
The Matthews thing, I can't figure that out for the life of me. What the hell happened? This was a guy that for the bulk of his career was a shooter. His defense, in fact, was like on the scouting report as his greatest weakness. And for whatever reason in this series, he's been like freaking Kawhi Leonard out there defensively on Tatum, just making his life miserable. I don't understand how that's happening. But to your point, Bobby, if I'm Boston, I'm feeling like we got this right now. I'm feeling, because if you really look, and John pointed this out earlier, I don't think you were with us. Celtics only played maybe 4 good quarters out of 16, and you're even with them. And Milwaukee has many more quarters of good basketball compared to Boston, and yet they're right there with them. I mean, if the Celtics, it feels as though if the Celtics are at the top of the game and Milwaukee's at the top of the game, Boston wins by 6.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're grappling with here, and I've been grappling with it the last year. Like, who's in a better position right now? It's really hard to tell. The Bucks role players are struggling big time. Yeah. They got going a little bit here tonight, but they've struggled immensely to even get Holiday going at times outside of Giannis. So it's a one-man show essentially in Milwaukee now. Maybe Brooks getting a few dump-off passes, but the Bucks are essentially hitting the Celtics 2 at a time, not really getting a ton of shooting. But their defense has been the better defense in my mind. It's close, but they've really given Tatum fits. Brown's been shut out for most of the series, save for a few moments here. But the Celtics on their end, like their defense, just keeps them so close. The Bucks can't separate. When John said this game was over, I was like, The Bucks can't build a lead.
We referenced that earlier. It felt in the third quarter the Celtics were dead, and we talked about it. You said, like, yeah, they just can't pull away, and they didn't.
They can't.
You know?
So that's another thing working in the Celtics' favor. Horford, his presence and the role guys as a whole, I feel like Grant's been pretty good on the whole in this series. Smart stepped up in a big way tonight. It feels like the Celtics have better role players, surprisingly, through this series so far. And again, I think all those things considered, it's going to take this to Game 7, probably to the final minute. And it's like, who's going to make a play at that point? Bucks have the better player, too, in the series overall.
Let me ask you this question, all of you, though. I mean, we've talked about how amazingly awesome Al is, and he is. He has been that in this series. But he's also playing 40-ish minutes. Like tonight, I think he played north side of 41. How concerned are you guys about Al and logging all those minutes, particularly with games being every other day?
I mean, they went short with everybody, Sherrod. So, I mean, 41,
and no choice with Robo, right?
41 Smart, 42 Horford, 42 Tatum, and obviously Brown 32 with the 5 fouls. You know, he would have gone 40-plus minutes. D. White steps in for 34. I mean, you went short. You had an 8-man bench, and you only played Tice 11 and Pritchard 13. So that was it. And then Grant obviously they decided to go away from Grant late there in the fourth. Did he play at all in the fourth?
I don't because of foul trouble.
So when Grant's not in there, you had no choice but to play. And again, I know, Bobby, we're not turning this into a Tice thing because it's not worth having much of a conversation. But he's borderline unplayable, and that's why he didn't play in the series. And they used him in a couple spots today, but obviously you had to.
He made one play.
I'm not comparing the two players, but it's basically become Cantor minutes, which is like, can I sneak a few of these in to give my guy a rest? And I
wouldn't go that far. Again, I don't want to go down this hole.
I'm saying in quality, they're very worried about Tice minutes, and they're really trying to limit them because they're worried what's going to happen when he's out there. So without Rob in there, Al has no choice but play 40. So to answer your question, Sherrod, yeah, I'm a little worried about it. Because. That's not a young in there.
Exactly. Go ahead, Bobby.
Here's the bigger deal with that, and this is what I was getting at pregame. I thought Tice could give them a little something just because of how comparable it would be to how Rob's played, which frankly has not been good. And I thought they maybe benefited a little bit by cutting out those Rob minutes entirely tonight. That might be a stretch, that might be an exaggeration, but he really struggled, got targeted on the defensive end.
But two things are true here, though, Bobby. Two things are true. They've been better with Rob off the floor so far in this series. That's a fact. But statistically, and you could see it with your eyes, he hasn't been right. Something's off with him. They're better with him off the court, but it's him versus Tice in the minutes that they are playing, and that's not a contest. The Rob minutes are going to be better than the Tice minutes. So yes, while they've been actually better putting in Grant in there or going just with wings and multiple guards and those types of lineups with only Al as the primary big, that the Tice minutes are just bad. So Rob's just got to play better.
Answer here
you could start to question whether he's worth starting and whether you want to stay double big. I mean, two games ago, he pulled Rob a 4-minute mark in for Grant, and that wasn't because Rob was brutal. They just realized we need some shooting out here. I don't like how the offense is looking. So I don't know if that's the thing that they go back to. It wouldn't be stunning to watch Rob come off the bench here. And
that's where I think this is going.
I don't think it's a terrible thing.
No, and you can put it under the category of, we're just trying to ease him back into the flow, so it's easier to manage his minutes if he's coming off the bench versus starting. It's an easy sell to Rob. It's an easy sell to the team. And to be honest, I agree with you guys. It may very well be the best thing for them going forward in this particular series.
Yeah, it's a matchup thing. This is the time of the year. Your ego's got to go aside. Brad and Gerald Green off the bench. We tell that story over and over again. And lineups have to change. Adjustments have to be made. In this series, it's not a Rob series. And listen, I don't think they kept
I don't think it wouldn't be a Rob series if he was right. I just don't think it's something. Yeah, something's not right.
Yeah,
Jimmy, what do you think?
Obviously, something's not right because he missed the game.
Yeah, Jimmy, what are your thoughts?
Well, on the Al stuff, I mean, yeah, if he's going to play 42 minutes a game or whatever it is, then yeah, that's going to be concerning. But I have no reason to believe that he can't continue to play at a high minutes mark. I mean, I think that he he knows how important this is for his career right now. I mean, he's certainly not asking to be out. I know that right now it's tough as hell guarding Giannis. I can't imagine it getting any harder. So he's leaving it out there, and he's playing at an extremely high level. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, he needs to sit for 8 more minutes on the bench, or he's playing too much, because he's one of their best players right now. Like you got to get as much out of him as you can. They're thin at that position. We just talked about Tice and how he hasn't really been the answer this series. Rob, we know, is obviously dealing with some pain right now. I can't imagine missing one of these games for a little bit of pain, but I guess it's a lot of pain. So hopefully that he can be back for Game 5, just because, like you said, John, they need minutes to go around, and a mediocre Rob is going to be better than a mediocre Tice. So you'll certainly take that. But I think it's a Horford Grant series the rest of the way. Grant obviously got dinged up with the fouls early tonight, so he couldn't really be himself out there. But I mean, I just think that they're going to go with exactly what they've been going with, because they've again, we've talked about it, even when they're trailing in these games, like, all they need to do is just play a little bit of a good string of basketball, and they get right back in. And it's those guys, the shooters. Horford's been hitting his shots. Grant's been hitting his shots. You got to get those guys that can stretch the floor and hit those threes that the Bucks are letting them take. I mean, that was one of the things that apparently the Bucks said they were going to do, is allow the Celtics to take these outside shots to some extent. And the Celtics credit, they're making them pay when they need to.
Mid-rangers too, big deal. You can take those. You can step into those.
And more points.
By the way, we gotta drop this, because this is what Horford just said post game. A rare bomb from Horford. He said the moment we were talking about there in the third quarter, where he was shaking his head at Giannis and included the dunk and everything else that happened there in the fourth, he said he was looking at me, and the way he was going about things, it didn't sit right with me. And yeah, that sort of flipped the switch at that moment.
Let's go. That's right. I mean,
you cannot kick the old dog when he's down, because he's still got bite in him.
He's got pride, man. He's a man out there. He's not going to let somebody just go out there and do what the hell he wants.
Well, that's the thing.
Al is the last guy you should be trying to do that to. The last guy.
But I didn't even get it, because they didn't have beef. It wasn't something. Al didn't do anything to him. I actually thought it was uncalled. I don't mind that stuff. I thought it was uncalled for, and not because it's like, oh, I'm pro Celtics versus. I'm like, what is he going at this guy for? Like, it's not like I've got, in your face, dude. It just seemed like low class ish,
Celtics
like, it's one thing to flex going down the court. It's another to go over the guy's face there. Like, I didn't quite get it. There's a professional courtesy when you're playing against a guy like Al. He's not a dirty player. You usually respect guys like Al Horford. So it was an odd choice by Giannis. Yeah.
Josue was just in on that as well, Smart, so he'll be coming out with some more on that. I'm gonna check in with Tatum here, and we'll flip in and out.
Okay.
You know what, John? It's pretty clear to me the Celtics players, they have a problem with Giannis, and maybe it's the physicality, maybe it's the fact that they think he's getting away with a lot. But Jaylen Brown had a problem with Giannis tonight. Marcus Smart had a problem with Giannis tonight. Al Horford had a problem with Giannis tonight. So they want to make Giannis up to be this angel. Guess what? These guys have a problem with him. They don't want some guy going out there thinking that he can just run train all over the court and just do whatever the hell he wants up and down the court. So, yeah, they have some pride. They're gonna be fighting back. And in a game that's as physical as it's been, like, you're bound to get some. Tempers are gonna be flaring a bit. So I was glad to see it. I mean, like Sherrod said, you can't do that to the old dog. You know that that fire is in there. You just,
Congratulations to Bobby for leaving and not ending the stream too. I want to say thank you to them.
Yeah,
Al,
I'm just gonna go. Boop.
Bye bye.
His text is funny too.
No, Giannis, I didn't understand it. If for no other reason. You're in control of the game. The last thing you should want to do is give them any type of galvanizing moment to build off of and play with a harder edge and play with more focus and try to get back at you. And they did that. And of all the guys on the team, Al is the last one that you should try to get fired up, because he's so calm most of the time. When he flips that switch, he becomes pretty damn special. And the fact that you guys weren't guarding him, he's going to make you pay. And then when you do guard him, he's going to dunk on you. And if you're just so happen to be the guy that was mean mugging him, he's going to smack you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, a lot of people saying here, like, that's how Giannis gets himself fired up. He does that. He mugs. He flexes. I was surprised he did it on Al. That's all.
Well, yeah, I mean, he does that, but it's one thing to do that towards your fans. It's one thing to do that.
I was surprised he did it in Al's face.
He did it in his face. And
but whatever, that's the consequences. And I'm glad the Celtics again. The that's fine. That's part of his thing. He mugs. He does that stuff. He gets himself pumped up. That's great. I mean, and I love Giannis. I really do.
Prepare to get elbowed in the face and get.
I love him, but then he got elbowed in the face, and friggin', he had his soul taken away by a 35-year-old man. So that's fine. I guess it goes both ways. But like I said, I love Giannis. I really do. And I love that stuff. I was surprised he directed it at Al. I was a little worried when Al kind of nodded because I was like, that's a big dog you're going after. And he friggin' did it. And that's what makes it so great. It's like everybody watching at home, like Al Horford's like, yeah, I'm going to get you, is thinking, no, he's not. And he did. That's the best part about it,
Well, we weren't the only ones that were surprised to see that. The officials were as well, which is why he got the tag. Which is why I got the tag.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it. Because like I said, you're an impartial fan who's not, a Celtics fan watching it is like, okay, he made Al mad. Everybody outside of Milwaukee, Boston is watching that is thinking, oh, poor Al Horford. He's going to get, he doesn't want to pick a fight with this guy. And he did. And he won it. And he did, and he won. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The old steer. Sometimes the old steer gets one over the young buck. That's just the way it works. So that was tonight.
Really good one, Jimmy. You should write. That's
done.
That's the first line of the Jimmy Toscano column he's not going to write tonight.
Yep.
Sometimes.
But if I was
steer gets the old buck. Send.
Hey, Sherrod, is that not a lead or is that not a lead?
That is an LEDE lead.
That's it.
Yeah, lead. It's lead. That's a lead lead.
But hey, I'll let somebody else.
All right, Jimmy, you can end the stream on that one.
Well done.
If you say something good enough, you can just end the stream. Give everybody that right.
Mic drop.
It's your walk-off mic drop.
Oh man.
We didn't get into it a ton, but let's get into some of the Derek White minutes. We've been critical of him, and we wanted to see more of him. And Sherrod, you touched on it a little, but go a little bit deeper. I'll take this D White every single night, and you can have the draft picks.
This was the best I've seen him play in meaningful game, meaningful minutes, where there was something of significant value at stake. This was a great game by him. And it wasn't just the fact that he was scoring. It's the fact that he was confident. I didn't cringe not a single time when he took a shot tonight. And I don't know if I've had that feeling with him when he shoots. And he was so confident with every shot. This is the Derek White that if they're going to get to the NBA Finals, they're going to need to see a lot of. They're going to need this guy because right now this series has shown us, and maybe it's just a matchup, I'm not sure what's going on, but Peyton Pritchard is not giving you anything. He has been just a notch or two above unplayable at this point.
Pretty close.
And it's sad because there was an opportunity he had in this game where I think the Celtics were up. Yeah, they were up by one. Tatum drives, kicks to him for what could be a 3-pointer that would make it a 4-point game and really put Milwaukee in their backs. He misses the shot, go the other way. I think Pat Connaughton nailed the 3. Milwaukee's up by 2. And that sequence should never happen. Your job, if you're him, is to make open shots. You're one of the best players on this team in terms of shot making. And when your best player puts you in position to take open shots, you got to cash those in. He's got to be better. But give Derek White all the credit in the world. His defense was on point, scoring, driving. And he's one of the better players at Ashley Down. I think about it, getting into that mid-range real estate. That's his game. And if they're willing to give him and the rest of the Celtics that real estate to shoot, he's going to be a guy that I need to play more if I'm Ime, because he's going to take that shot. And more times than not, he's going to make it. Because, again, if they're giving him wide open mid-range floaters and shots at the rim or at least close to the paint, he's a guy that can knock that shot down. And he's a guy that looks for that shot.
And you would like to see it more consistently. I think he got in his
You
own
would.
head with some of his misses, but I thought he'd be able to score closer to the basket a little bit more, whether it was through the floater or just being able to get in there because he's a larger guard. And sometimes he'll just be able to, get into the paint against somebody, who's smaller, who's trying to defend him. And that was one of the great things about it is you just have so much size when you're putting him out there, along with your long wings and this and that. That you'd find some matchups. I thought he'd just have an easier time. One of the thoughts about Derek White was, with all of the attention being placed on the other guys, he'll be kind of free. Nobody's going to pay attention to him. And they haven't, but he just hasn't hit his shots. I mean, it's as simple as that. Is the Bucks will give him every single shot that he wants there.
Other things, John. Come on. Don't get started. Don't get us started again.
I hate Jimmy.
You don't know ball.
How many Celtics fans are pissed when Derek White scores because they can't use the old? He does other things. He doesn't need to score.
He didn't. I liked it better when he didn't score.
I liked it when I could actually you.
That was good. What did you guys think of Jalen? In addition to the fouls, some people in the comments here are talking about looking not himself. And slightly off, or I don't know. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts just on Jalen right now? And, whether he's dealing with the hamstring, whether he, like Tatum, is a little bit flustered by the Bucks, trying to figure out exactly how to get his points and, where it's coming from. I don't know what's going on fully. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't. And again, a lot of it had to do with fouls. He had to deal with that stuff all game long too. But yeah, I mean, just your general thoughts.
In game 3, I thought he didn't look as explosive as we've seen him before. I mean, it really did feel as though that game, that hammy might have been bothering him a little bit, or he was maybe being a little conscious of the hamstring. But tonight, I thought it was a foul trouble. I thought he came out looking like himself. But the foul trouble, I think, really it got in his head. He couldn't defend the way he wanted to. He couldn't attack because the way Milwaukee defends him, he does because he likes to dribble, drive, and attack. It puts him in position to potentially pick up offensive fouls. So I thought he was very much inside his head after he got into foul trouble and never got into any kind of flow. And I think the fouls, more than his health, was why that was the case tonight. But game 3, though, I with you, John. I didn't think he looked good health-wise. I thought that there was a gear that he has normally shifts into that he never seemed like he even attempted to take his game to that level.
He doesn't look as athletic right now. It worries me a little bit. Doc Flynn, one of our friends, Dr. Jessica Flynn, was commenting after the game, and she thought he looked pretty stiff. And was like, I hope he's all right. He does not look right right now. And again, this is what, orthopedic doctors and orthopedic surgeons do. They can kind of tell based on your movement and your gait, like how you're feeling here. And she just said he looked stiff. To the layperson's eye, he does look like he's not as explosive right now. And because of that, you hold back a little bit because you're always afraid, is this going to be, the one that, the last step I take before this thing friggin', grabs and I have to limp off the court,
And he still went up hard to the hoop when he got pissed at Giannis for the foul that Giannis kind of committed on him there. He still went up hard. He was planning on throwing that down. My concern is on the defensive end. They're switching Giannis onto him, and he just can't defend Giannis. I mean, really, no offense to him, but especially if
they're hunting that matchup.
Exactly. I mean, especially if he's a little hampered. He's already at a disadvantage, and now he's got Giannis coming at him with that physicality there. There's only so much he can do. So that's definitely something that you can see the Bucks doing, and it got him into trouble tonight. And like we said, Sherrod, I mean, that 5th foul was almost a killer there. I mean, it definitely took him out of his game offensively. I mean, they didn't even put him in until I think the 6-minute mark or something like that, close to the 4th quarter. And I'm not seeing anything that's like, oh my God, this guy is, going to miss the next game level of discomfort. But certainly you can see at points that he might be thinking about it a little bit out there. They're going to need him. They're going to need him to get back. I don't know. It's really not the type of injury that heals while you're trying to play through it, certainly. So I might be something that he has to deal with to some extent as we move forward. Now, I don't know, look, I don't want to look too far ahead. If they are going to move on into the next round, I don't know if there will be a extended period of time there. He will be able to get a little extra rest, but either way, it's something he's going to probably have to play through. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Offensively, I don't think it's been a huge concern, but for me, it's more on the defensive end.
Yeah, I see that too, a little bit. And again, that matchup with Giannis is tough if that's what he's got to deal with. It's not ideal. I just don't think. Yeah.
Speaking of injuries, I saw Smart say that he doesn't anticipate missing any time again with that quad contusion, which makes sense because he didn't miss the last 2 games. But sounds like he's kind of feeling a little bit more back to himself at least. I don't know if they said
he looked at tonight because he was pretty bad. He was pretty bad last game. He didn't look himself. So he was great tonight. I know he went down that one time, kind of gimped his way back up, but that might have just been for effect. I think he's fine. It's a contusion. It's a bruise.
We're running with Giannis too that he talked about. Actually, looks like we got Josue in the room. Maybe
we do have Josue. Give me the thumbs up when you're ready, my man.
Thumbs up. Oh, there he is.
2 thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I'll bring him in here.
Wait, you got Jimmy producing now? What's going on? What's going on?
I wasn't going to steal your Smart thunder because I think you were there for it.
We're all just trying to. It's each one of these guys is trying to end the stream, and I'm trying to stop them. That's what's happening right now. That's all that's going on right now.
Did you change the password for Bobby? Is that what happened?
Good idea.
Oh, what a game, fellas! What a game.
Yeah, what's your take? You go in any direction you want. We've talked about a ton.
Well, I'm gonna go in this direction because I just had a few minutes with Tito Horford, man. As you can imagine, he's amazing. Taking in this performance up close and personal with Al Horford, man. And I love how what Al said in the post-game conference pretty much was identical to what he just told me, which was it wasn't exactly what Giannis said after he dunked over Giannis because he couldn't make out exactly what he said, but it was more of a demeanor and a look. And from that point forward, it flipped the switch. I mean, the switch was already flipped.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly. And Papa Horford out here, he's about to turn around if he hears me. He saw that look in his eye. He was like, oh, here we go. Look out. And heading into this one, he did drop the line. Whoever wins this is going to win the series. So he's confident that this thing is over. He can't wait to head back. But he's got to head back to Boston and see how this whole thing plays out. But, man, what a performance from Al, man.
I'll throw it up there, Josue. I've got that soundbite. I know Al just talked a little bit ago. Here's that soundbite we were talking about. Al Horford talking about Giannis's dunk on him and that look that he gave him. Here you go.
Oh, man.
It's just one of those plays that I got the pass. He closed out. I've been shooting that a lot, and, I just figured that I just drive it, and I drove, took it in. Big play, obviously, very emotional, and I think it really, for our group, I think it really, got us going even more at that point.
That was the one on the dunk, not on the play itself, but that's talking about that play, which we said was a huge turning point play. On that one where he obviously got the tech following up on that. But the other comment that you were talking about again was he jumped in there and he when he just didn't like the Al thing. I think I have that clip as well. So let me see if I can find it. I'll play that too.
Yeah, he earned that tech.
Watch, I'm going to end up playing the same exact bite, and you guys are going to be like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, I don't really know what he said to me, but the way he was looking at me and the way that he was going about it really didn't sit well with me. And at that point, I think just something switched with
me.
And then
didn't sit well with me.
I love it.
Don't mess with the man.
Listen,
okay?
It's not even fighting words. It's a look. He didn't sit well with me.
When he said it didn't sit well with me, I'm like, oh shit, he's about to whip my ass. It didn't sit well with me. Buzzword, I'm about to whip your ass. That's love that from Al. Love that.
Love it.
That is such an OG way of just
for real
keeping it above board. But y'all know what I'm saying. It didn't sit well with me. I'm about to whip his. Yes.
And I followed it up. Sherrod,
okay.
You
number
sort of
34.
You sort of gave him the okay. He goes, exactly. Exactly. Like you got that one, but you know,
I know who you are. Noted.
That's technical foul, but we're gonna finish this thing out now. Like I'm
that
locked
was
in
a
now.
shit. That was a crap technical foul call too. But anyway,
oh, it's worth it. You take.
No,
that
I'm saying on Giannis. Give me a break. But
yeah. Oh yeah. All right.
That's fine. Great. Like I said, turning point. Anything else? Obviously, you know, Al was huge today. But you were in on some of the interviews. Were you listening to the Bucks at all?
I did not. No, I stayed with the Celtics side. There were guys were coming in and out. As soon as I was heading out, Tatum was coming down the hallway, so Bobby was able to
Would Smart have anything to say?
Yeah, Smart was actually just singing Al Horford's praises, just saying, "Look, I've never had a teammate like this before. You know, this is Al. Like, he was huge. I think he said it like 4 times. I don't know if it was huge or if it was like big. That's what it was. It was like, man, Al was big for us. Like, I cannot say that enough. Like, we don't win this game without him, who he's been all year long. And it was sort of the same thing that we heard from Ime from the very beginning when he started his post-game presser, where it was just like, man, Al's been doing this all year long. Like when his boys in the locker room and timeouts and how he's able to galvanize this team, this unit. I mean, that dunks that there was nothing to be said, you know. And I asked Al too. I was like, did you say something after that in the huddle? Or the guy said there was nothing to be said. Like, everyone knew what time it was. And you know, you look at the end of that fourth quarter, for the Celtics to build a 10-point lead off of that, huge win, big time.
That's what we were talking about, Josue, is like none of us could fathom that this game went from like the Celtics looking like they were definitely going to lose to they were up 10. And it just happened, you know? And again, Al gets a ton of that. Jimmy was talking Tatum, a couple really big buckets from Smart there, just enough, you know, and that's, again, just talking about the difference between, you know, this Celtics team versus old Celtics teams. Like, and we're talking about last year's team, the beginning of this season is like, you know, these are games the Celtics would be on the other side of, you know, they do enough to have a lead. They can't put a team away, and then they just have a game taken from them. Celtics just took this game from Milwaukee. This has to feel awful if you're the Bucks. Awful.
Well, I love what Marcus Smart had to say after the game too, was when he talked about how I forget who asked him, but someone asked him if he felt the Bucks sort of just falling apart, like they were just. He was like, I mean, we all sort of were, right? He's like, I think we're all exhausted. That's what happens when a series like this is this chippy and aggressive, and guys are playing well over 35 minutes in this one. I mean, Jason Tatum didn't even sub out. You know, it seemed like so. It was one of those games where who wants it more, and the Celtics were able to build that cushion that was enough for them to close the door on them. And Tatum had a lot to do with that as well. We can't forget that. You know, Tatum kept grinding out there, kept looking for his offense, kept reading the defense pretty much. You know, it seemed like he was just very patient. Whereas in that first quarter, it just seemed like he was not rushing things, but just sort of trying to find his spots quickly. I guess I don't know. I felt like it took him a while to really settle in, and that didn't happen until the second half, in my opinion. Yeah, he was settled in by that. I think it was when he scored 7 straight. When he scored those 7 straight points, I think I was like, okay, now he's settled in. You know. But he needed Al, this team needed that kind of performance for them because, I mean, let's be honest, like there was a lot of open looks for Al. I feel like the Bucks were so focused on, the top 2 featured players that he sort of had that leeway. I mean, Brook Lopez wasn't going to chase him out there in the perimeter. And if he wants to bang down low, I mean, that's Al's capable of doing that as well. But man, this was another quote that stood out to me was when someone asked him, actually, I think it was Windhorst. He was like, Al, could you have done this 4 or 5 years ago? And Al laughed. He was just like, you know what, man? It maybe probably not. Maybe this is that old man strength that just takes over where, years of experience. And there isn't one player that comes that's remotely close of, having as many playoff games as Al, over 110 playoff games throughout his career. I mean, it was sort of his natural instincts taking over on top of this team chemistry that's been built for, months leading into this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's everything right there, man. All right, I'm gonna see y'all later.
Yeah, peace, bro.
All right, end the stream. Just go ahead and end it.
We're done.
Is end this one? Is that where we hit?
Yeah.
See you, man.
You just hit end stream, and then you go, and then you make a weird face. So just in terms of
looks like the Horford's filing out now.
Are you talking to people that aren't on this show right now?
No, I'm saying to you guys.
Do you got a guess? Because I brought Grant Williams on the show. Who do you got? You got somebody?
No. As soon as I dropped soon as I said looks like the Horfords are headed out, like they all turn around. It's kind of hard. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm talking about you guys. But no,
just bring
they're
one of
heading
them
out.
up. We'll take any Horford.
We'll take any Horford will do.
Man, I had Tito for a few minutes. Tito did another interview for the local news here. So yeah, man, this is all stomping ground.
I know.
No,
Tito's
true.
good.
True that.
Yeah, Tito's that guy out here.
Yeah, all good stuff. You mentioned Tatum. Do you feel like he figured anything out in terms of, because again, we talked about it already, but it wasn't looking good. You know, it wasn't. He was missing shots he should make. He was still passing up decent shots. Just wasn't really going his way. I mean, I know he tried to get a little bit involved in the first quarter. He got a couple shots to fall, then just went friggin' ice cold for the entire second and third quarters, part of the fourth, and then he just had that stretch, which was all Sherrod pointed out. Sometimes all you need is that one thing. But do you think it was just a matter of shots that he was taking earlier were falling, Josue, or did he start to figure something out?
I think he started to figure things out. I think he was starting to again settle into the game, read the defense, and I feel like he was picking his spots, but he wasn't. It was the kind of Tatum that we saw right when things were starting to turn for him, for the Celtics in the regular season, right, where he goes off for those 7 straight points. But it isn't as if like he feels like the need to keep doing that. He continues to play defense, continue to do other things, continue to find guys, find open shots. Even at the end of that third quarter, I mean, if he really wanted to, and maybe 3 months ago, he does the ISO Tatum, everyone clear out, I got this. But no, he dished off a pass in the corner for 3. Did it fall down? No. But I just, again, that's an example of his maturity at this point. He doesn't feel like the only way the Celtics can win is if I go off, and I think that's a huge part of his game that's evolved, especially in the postseason. Because let's face it, superstars in these moments, it can be kind of hard for them to say, you know what, I'm not going to force the issue here. I got to keep getting
especially when you're watching the
involved.
guy on the other side get 40,
Exactly.
and you're scoring 10,
and you're coming off your coldest shooting night of the playoffs. So again, another sign of maturity for Tatum for not going back to those bad habits, and also that third quarter from Al Horford sort of helped that, and I think he was able to read that and knew exactly what the team needed, which was that onslaught of points on top of the defense on the other end.
Yep. Bobby, what did Jason have to say about himself?
Yeah, he was basically talking about what Sherrod and you were saying, that if he just had a decent performance down the stretch in the last game, they felt like they could have won. So that was the story coming out of that.
Top 5 Tatum for 5 minutes. Give me top 5 Tatum for 5 minutes, and you win most of the night.
Yeah, and the frustration of the team coming out of that one said it showed the toughness, how much they wanted this one coming back in. But it didn't start great. Like we've talked a lot about the end of the game, second half, but that first quarter was a disaster. Everything that went wrong could have. But again, the Bucks can't even separate in that moment, and that's becoming a real concern if you're Milwaukee. Last game, Tatum scores 10 points. You can't build any more than a 2-point victory in that game. And then in this one, he's off for the whole game. The biggest lead they had, 11. So the Celtics were always right there, and Tatum said the message going into the fourth was, we did so bad to this point, and we're still in the game. So we might as well give it one more quarter here and see where it goes. And ultimately, they got one good quarter tonight. And that was enough. But you also just see the floor that this defense gives them. I mean, between the end of the third, start of the fourth, Bucks shot 1 for 8. That was when Brown went out of the game, Grant went out of the game. And I said, even when those guys hit foul trouble, this team can still play defense deep into its roster, whether it's White out there. And White held opponents to 0 for 12 shooting tonight. A huge game from White. You had other guys out there defending Smart. Ultimately, they went smaller with Pritchard and still defended, and then they got Brown back in there and still defended. So they can defend throughout the different
D. White
lineups.
closed it out instead of two bigger bodies without Grant really playing in that fourth quarter. So
that 3-guard lineup. I was telling Bobby, I'm like, how long did you go with this? Like, I get they're hot right now, but you guys
I'm
are
surprised
Jalen soon. Yeah.
You talk about Ime and adjustments. I'm surprised. I thought Grant was going to be coming into that game, and he didn't, and that ended up being the right call.
We didn't play well, and White did. I was talking to Josue. I was talking to Josue in the second half, and he was like, "Oh, they're going at White a little bit," and I was like, "He's holding up out there." Look at the numbers after. I didn't get a feeling that he was holding opponents for 0 for 12, but he really does hold his own on that end of the court and can switch I'd say 1 through 4 against a team like Milwaukee when they're going small. Not going to defend fives, not going to defend Giannis, but he's another guy that can go out there and defend almost every position on the court for them. Took the easy shots, Ime said. Decent offensive night from him, better than the ones he had in Boston. And he really bounced back in a big way these last 2 games. I know I posted the video of him missing everything in warmups, and everyone was going nuts before game 3. But Ime said, just like I said, Ime said, it's not all about the offense here. There's a lot of other stuff.
We know. Yes, we know. But it's some offense is nice as well. What did you guys think of the job? What did you guys think of the job they did on Giannis? Because this was something we were talking about early. And Bobby, just full disclosure, was in terms of where we are on our panic meters. Bobby
was a 6 coming in.
Bobby was. You might have been pinned.
I said this morning I was at a 6.
All right, but and part of the thing.
I am petrified of Giannis. This is exactly.
Oh yeah, coming into the series, I was terrified.
But part of the thing was,
but I think Giannis might just prevent the Celtics from winning for the next 10 years.
These were all things that were said. These were all
pretty
things
much
said. But the question was, did Giannis unlock something last game where the Celtics held him at bay for the first couple and only came away with a split, and Giannis kind of figured it out, and now he was just going to take it, do what he did in the finals last year, just will the Bucks to victory. And he had a game tonight where Celtics made life hard on him, and he struggled some. And again, every 3-pointer he takes is a friggin' gift, so thanks for that. But 14 for 32 field goals, 4 turnovers, and he had to work his ass off, both offense and defense, and he was gassed. He was visibly gassed at the end of the game. So I know, Bobby, where you were saying, we're worried Giannis could just start to take these games over on his own. I'm wondering whether the Celtics are kind of starting to wear him down.
Well, everything's on him, right? No one else is going on that side. Right. He's making all the right passes. He's moving the ball at these double teams, and they did double him a lot more in this game. Lots of timely traps, forced a turnover when White got out for that layup in the 4th there. So they guarded him incredibly well in this game, and he still put 34 on them. Still put them in a massive hole in that 3rd quarter when he just put his head down and put Brown in foul trouble, put Grant in foul trouble. So you think of what he's able to do basically on his own out there. It's scary stuff, and he's still the reason I say this is going to come down to the last minute of the last game in this series. This guy isn't going to stop motor-wise until it's over. Now, he did slow a little bit in the 4th, just when I saw that moment where Smart was trying to help him up, and Giannis was just so gassed on that he gave because Giannis couldn't get up on that play. So there was a real fatigue factor, I think, that set in for him. But, man, look at the game he had still in spite of it all, with no help out there at all.
I know, but they're making him work. If Giannis is going to shoot 14 for 32, that's a victory for you. Massive.
It is,
victory.
And they've done a great job.
I mean, it's not horrible, but I mean, he had to jack up 30-something shots. I mean,
34 points on 32 shots. You'll take that any day.
He's going to work there, and right, exactly. So I mean, it's not horrible shooting, but I mean, he's going to work there. He's and they're making him work for it.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a guard Tatum or anything like that. So that's the worry if you're Milwaukee. If that levy really broke against Tatum here, the stuff they've been doing with Holiday and Matthews and all the guys on the wings, and suddenly they have to put Giannis on him a little bit more, that might be what officially knocks Giannis out for the series energy-wise. They don't want to have to go there. But if Tatum does play at a certain level here, they might have to go here. So Tatum's still the swing guy on the Boston side, right? Everything's going to be decided by which Tatum they get here over these last 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, and we talked about in the simplest form, and I know, Jimmy, we kind of mock this, but it's so true. It really just comes down to which of these teams is going to be hitting their shots. And the Celtics just have to shoot average, it feels like, to be able to win these games because their defense is just going to make it really hard on Milwaukee. You need either an otherworldly Giannis performance and even still, I mean, this 108, I think, is the high right now, right? For Milwaukee, this is a team that averaged 115 points per game during the regular season. I believe this is the high for the series, right? 108 from tonight?
I think you're right. Fans are going to be all over Giannis on one. It might be one of the loudest
it's going to be great.
Against a player that the TD Garden has heard. They're going to be all over Giannis at the free throw line. Every time he, gets called for a foul or if it's a charge, this guy can't shoot. I hate to say it. I mean, we've been saying it, or I have been saying it. Over 4 tonight from 3. He airballed like an 18-footer tonight. If he's
The
not
free throw
bulldozing,
trouble's back too, Jimmy.
yep, free throw trouble's
Yeah,
back.
because
If he's not
that's true.
bulldozing his way to the hoop, he's not scoring. So, the more games they play against this guy, hopefully the more they can figure out a way to try to defend him at the basket, because that's really, his only chance of, his only way of putting up 34 points is just going to the hoop, getting fouled, or, obviously got to give him credit for, his creativeness sometimes on his way to the hoop. He's so long, he can kind of get around guys, but anything out of 15 feet, this guy is a liability practically out there.
Boring is
Boring
what he
as
is,
hell.
Jimmy.
I've said it. The most
Yeah, that's
boring
your take.
superstar player.
That's your take, Jimmy. That's your take.
Most boring superstar player, honestly. You really I can name 20 guys I'd rather watch than him.
Isn't
Jimmy.
he scary though, Jimmy? Would you use that word?
Jimmy, you don't like those dad jokes that he tells? You don't like
No,
those?
I love Giannis. He's so freaking likable, but
I don't know how you can hate that dude.
he's
Seriously.
such a
I
likable
don't hate
guy.
him. I'm just he doesn't
But
do it
the
for me.
question is, are they
But
wearing?
what so
Are they
drives
wearing?
you crazy? You've talked about
Are they
this,
wearing
John.
him down? Are they wearing him down?
I think they
Yeah.
are. If-
They
if- if
absolutely
you-
are. There's nobody else capable of doing anything on that. I mean, Holiday aside, but even Holiday is not enough.
I'm
at
telling you,
times.
the deeper we get into this series, the more you're going to realize and recognize not having Chris Middleton is a killer for this team. Because this is the type of game tonight where Giannis was clearly he looked fatigued, and this is where Chris Middleton can fill that gap. Because you're asking Drew Holiday to be in the role of Middleton as far as that number 2 scorer. That's just not who Drew Holiday is. And again, no knock against him. He's a hell of a player. But if he's your second best player, second best scorer, you're going to have a lot of inefficient scoring nights from your second best scorer because he's not a guy that shoots a high percentage. He certainly hasn't done that. Certainly hasn't done that in this series. Tonight was indicative of that. 5 for 22, 16 points. Come on now.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sherrod. You know what, too? He's the guy who's putting a lot of effort on the other end, right?
Yes.
And I feel like he's been so instrumental for them on defense, and obviously Giannis is too. But man, in terms of like manhandling the backcourt, or at least trying to keep up with them, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and without Middleton, like that's another defender that they're missing. He's a good one too. He's not one of those guys who just strictly does offense and just a sharpshooter for the Bucks. He can play defense as well. So that's been a big loss in this series for sure.
Yeah. Yep. We're gonna start to wrap. So I do want to tell you guys once again, for everyone out there, check out our sponsor, please. Calm.com. Yep, everybody.
You needed that middle of this game.
We did need it in the middle of the game, and we might need it now because we're so jacked up, and we've got at least 2 more games to go, and possibly 2 more rounds to go.
Did you guys read off Zannis' tweet? Text yet from the group or not?
What?
No, which one?
That the game was over?
What should I start with? Yeah, there's that one.
Oh, I meant that one.
No. My personal favorite was after this series, everyone's going to question Jason Tatum's stardom.
But we acknowledged that.
Quarter, that was fair.
We acknowledged it. This was a tear the script up game.
I'll say that. Yeah.
Heading into the fourth quarter,
you fired off that text before the fourth.
Heading into the fourth quarter, if Tatum finished the way he'd played that game, he was 6 for 18 and he wasn't generating anything and he was starting to sulk again. And if that's how this game ended and Tatum got knocked out by Giannis, bullying his way, into a 4-1 series victory, and Tatum went out like a chump. Yes, all of that goodwill that he built with the Celtics record would have and not being able to carry a team and shrinking on the big stage, his rep would have taken a massive hit. But you can rip it up, toss it in the trash, and start all over because they came back and they won the game. And as Sherrod kept saying, you just needed 5 good minutes from him. But absolutely, Tatum, if Tatum went out, if they lost tonight and Tatum just did not perform the way he did,
right,
and pull it together,
it was too soon.
That's where it was trending. It was another bad Tatum game coming off a borderline career worst playoff game.
Yeah.
That it was going to look
all
really
eyes
bad
were on him going into this game.
The eyes were on him, and it was going to be a 3-1 series lead with Tatum coming up small again. It was heading in a bad direction. So yes, I'll own that one. Yeah, I think because I thought he was that was going to look really bad for him, and again they turned it around. So you toss it.
Yeah, I think that was fair. The game's over though. mean, none of these games are going to be over. It looks like for Boston, the Bucks just can't separate.
Yeah.
Unless
But again,
the 3-star
reminding people, for those who are still a little jacked up, calm.com/garden, #1 sleep and meditation app. Go there, 40% off a premium subscription. There's a lot of cool stuff there. At least go check it out. You can do a little trial. You can check it out. You can see what it has. Yeah. Cool music, sound effects, whatever it is that you're looking for there. Just allow you to kind of chill, get your mind right, get your body right. It's worth checking out.
Get ready for Wednesday. You know, you got to come
down.
Get
ready for Wednesday.
Come back up.
Yeah. Calm.com/garden. Get yourself right. #1 sleep and meditation app out there. 40% off. Calm.com/garden. Guys, final thoughts on this one as we head back to Boston. All three of you guys heading out of there and coming home for Game 5 on Wednesday. Bobby, what do you got?
Basically what I said earlier. It's exciting that they got out of this one with a win, but the work's far from done. You know, you're going to get another huge Giannis game coming back to Boston. Plenty of more calls that are going to drive you crazy, and a huge effort needed on the defensive side of the ball to try to slow him. So this is obviously coming back to Milwaukee on Friday. I don't see any world where these two teams don't play a Game 7 on Sunday. This is the kind of series it is, and we might be all in for an all-timer here.
I think Sherrod got next.
Yeah, I can absolutely see a scenario where we come back here and the series ends here. We've all acknowledged the fact that every single game the Celtics have been within striking distance. Milwaukee has not been able to knock them on their ass and knock them out cold. Still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And that to me gives me confidence that there is a chance, there is a scenario where I can see if the Celtics continue to take advantage of that real estate mid-range space, which they did a good job with, if Tatum starts playing more like top 5 Tatum for more than like 2-3 minutes and actually puts together like a 25-30 minute top 5 Tatum game, this thing could be over in 6. Because
that's the Tatum game.
Because when he's in that, because we've seen when he gets into that zone, it doesn't matter who's out on the floor. He's going to be the best player. He has not been that in the series yet, but would any of us be surprised if he had 1 or 2 games like that going forward where he was? I wouldn't.
No, not at all. And I thought that this would be that game. And even though it wasn't, I think we sort of saw him plant the seeds here for that big game, whether that's in Boston or whether that's in Game 6. And maybe that's the Game 6 that closes out the series. Look, Bobby, I mean, not just to address Bobby, but I just feel like the Bucks this is exhausting for them. You know, you build a big lead and then you see it go away. You build a big lead and then you see it go away. You lose home court now, head back to Boston. It's like a brand new series. I just think the Celtics have to do a good job of capitalizing on that and just sort of just take it from them. You know what I mean? Like not just continue to play uphill and eliminate those leads, but get out to that big lead earlier, not just in the fourth quarter the way they did.
Yeah, have a game 2. Right.
Send a message. Right. Have a game 2. And I think a lot of that has to do with Jalen. You know, I know Jalen's been going through a lot health wise, and that hasn't been the easiest series for him, but I would love to see him turn things around in Boston. And I think there's a good chance that happens. Maybe not a monster performance, maybe something that's just encouraging for everyone to say, okay, well, Jalen's back too. Jalen's starting to trend in the right direction, because I think he's a big part of this as well.
We have to keep an eye out for Chris Middleton too. Bucks ruled him out through 4.
It's not happening.
Leaving the door open.
It's not happening. I don't think so. But
just
Jimmy, what do you got? Yeah.
Pretty simple. Hard hats, lunch pails, can't lose. I mean, this was a come to work game. Al Horford could be freaking collecting his 401k, and instead he's coming to work. At this point in his career.
All right, so Jimmy. Now tell me about the benefits from the union. Come on, come on.
I got to give him credit tonight. I got to give the Celtics for just continuing to stick with it. When things aren't working for them, the way that they kind of were clicking towards the end of the season, they're not letting the foot off the gas. Like Bobby mentioned, and we've all talked about, the Bucks just cannot pull away from this team, even when they're playing poorly. They're always in the game. So, if they can just string together some good basketball like they did at home in Game 2, that first half of basketball just really set them so far above the Bucks. The Bucks haven't been able to do anything close to that in the series against the Celtics. So I like where they're at right now. I like how they're coming to work. And I'm expecting them to ride this win into Boston Wednesday night.
Yeah. What I will say, what I've been saying, Celtics best does beat the Bucks best. Certainly without Middleton, I think it does. So again, it's just a matter of which team makes the other team play worse, at this point. And it's been pretty even in that regard. But I do think every time the Celtics do what we've been accustomed to them doing, with their defense, which has been fairly consistent throughout, and just moving the ball and getting decent shots, I think they win. They just have to do it. And credit to the Bucks, they've made it hard on the Celtics to be able to do those things. But I do think right now, with these rosters as presently constituted, Celtics best beats the Bucks best. So that's what you're hoping you see. Also, I don't want to see Daniel Tice play another minute in this series. And that's all. That's my final.
You're such a bully. You are such a bully.
I don't want to see it. This was a night of bully ball. Okay, this was all about bully ball. Okay, so we've got to have thick skin here.
No, I'm not gonna lie, John. If the Celtics dropped this one, I would have been all over Tice too. Like, come on, man. Give us something. Give your team something, man.
It's not a loss
policy. No, Rob. This is when you come in and give a good 12, 13-minute effort. We didn't get that, but
you got one play out of them. That was about it.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
And 5 missed shots? I stopped counting after 5. Did he have more than 5?
I don't mean
and was like, "You were lucky, man. You're lucky I went off in there." No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say
I'm not trying to bully. Honestly, I just don't want to see him. They got to go short bench here. They really do at this point.
Even with Rob out in this one, you still wanted less.
You have to. You have to play him. This was about the amount of minutes you could play Tice. I'm glad Rob is back, but honestly, you can really only go with the 5, White and Grant.
It's amazing how thin they can play. They've been doing it all year.
They have to do it. They got to go 7 with barely a few minutes sprinkled into maybe Pritchard and Tice if you have to in a foul trouble or injury scenario. And that's it, man. That's all you can count on here. And that's what they got to do.
Credit Pritchard, by the way. He really is making the most of that little sprinkle of minutes. He's surviving defensively. He might give you a shot or two. We said that's what he needed to become this year. And it feels like he's finally hitting it. They could have used that corner 3 from him, but still effective minutes from him late in the fourth.
You mean the one where they were up by 1, but then he missed the shot and they came back down and hit a 3 that was wide open also, and they're down by 2. Yeah, I remember that one.
Right. So thanks again.
Think about
it. Really good crowd again tonight.
I'm not dwelling on that at all.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging. You guys, Jesus, we're over 90 minutes into it, and we still have a lot of people here. So we're sorry to leave you guys, but again, I think we've exhausted it about as far as we can take tonight's win. Amazing win. One that, like I said, we really didn't see coming until it, boom, happened, which was incredible.
One of those games you'll never forget.
Never for the rest of my life.
Any quick thoughts on the other series in the East? Anything, Bobby, or you guys?
What series?
Well, he fixed it, and,
No, the Phillies playing well. They're
over.
Miami's in trouble.
Am I trying to end this show, or are we going to go through
I just didn't know. I know.
Are we going to go through every freaking playoff series?
No, it's important, John.
Starting with Bobby. Bobby, what is your thoughts on every series? Go.
Yeah,
no, John, if they
inside the NBA?
No, if they win, that's going to be the
talking basketball on a basketball show. My bad.
I'll keep it short.
MVP debate, Draymond versus Mad Dog. Let's do it all.
You do this sometimes. Though. Towards the end,
I got time tonight. I get some time tonight.
Exactly.
My bed's right downstairs, bro.
John, if they win this series, that's who they're going to play in these finals. Miami's in trouble, and that's a good thing for the Celtics. I think they match up better with Philly than Miami. So
yeah.
We'll see where that goes.
There you go.
I don't know.
That's all you wanted, Jimmy? Just a little?
That's it. Now I can go to sleep tonight.
Okay, how about this? I don't want to go full debate.
I think you're sleeping on Jimmy, man. Jimmy Butler. I mean, not that Jimmy, but Jimmy Butler. Bro.
Raise your hands if
you're sleeping on Bam. He's struggling.
Raise your hands if you think Jokic was the rightful MVP.
Wow. No.
I'm close. I'm medium.
I'm not.
I'm
Sherrod said flat no. Who'd you want, Embiid?
Yes. In fact, I wrote about that for Bleacher Report tonight. Why Jokic should not be the MVP. I wrote about that tonight to show you how pissed off I was about it.
Yeah, we'll get the vote soon, but I think it's.
He was my number
3.
I think it's going to be a landslide. So my beef is
Jokic was your 3
behind Embiid.
What?
Behind Giannis,
Sherrod.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I actually go by more than just analytics numbers, which apparently
It's not about
I
the
guess.
analytics. Look at
Oh,
his
really?
team.
Blake,
So-
no,
Who's the second
Sherrod,
best player?
So
about
Bobby,
record.
so we're going to celebrate the most impressive individual award for a guy that led his team to a 6th-place finish in a Western Conference that
They won
hasn't
48
I knew
games.
it.
in a
Told you,
weak
record man.
Western Conference. The last team that got into the playing game in the Western Conference needed only 34 wins to do it. You needed 40 plus to get into the East.
Let me
So
let me ask you this, Sherrod, because you've
But that
covered the
team that he
league for a
had,
long
though,
time.
I don't know, Sherrod.
Oh, they were.
Have
they
you
were, they were-
ever-
Sixers had problems all year, man. Embiid did a shitload for the Sixers this
Y'all
year.
act
But
like-
Obviously, he was at the game.
They had different kind of problems, Jimmy. You know that, though. Way different.
Again, like I'm not discounting what
problem.
Embiid did, but have you ever, Sherrod, seen a single guy carry a team quite like Jokic did this year? When he went off the floor, they died. They collapsed. They were probably, I think they would have been the worst team in the West without him. And instead, they were a 48-win team.
Bobby, you act as, again, he had a great season and he was the most valuable player on the Denver Nuggets roster. But you're putting what he
Yeah.
did above anything and everything that other players did in the entire NBA? No. Joel averaged 30-plus points, led the league. Do you know how hard it would be to lead the league in a score when they don't
I'm
want
not
your
knocking
position of
Embiid.
Well, you
There's
can't-
nothing wrong with second place.
Well, Jokic should understand that. He should be second place. Think about this, Bobby. Think about this for a second. Joel is doing things that the league is legislating him not to be capable of doing.
I like this side of Sherrod. I like this. Keep going.
Joel led the league in scoring in a league that doesn't want centers to even play, let alone score.
But he did it with Tyrese Maxey and
You-
Tobias
wait.
Harris, who isn't great, but
are
much
you-
better than what the
Maxey's
Nuggets
a
have.
revelation, though. Maxey's more of a newer thing.
Are you sure that he did it with Maxey, or did he help Maxey become a better player?
Oh, I'm sure he
Let me
helped
ask
him.
this
Ooh,
question,
I like
Bob.
that. I like that. Sherrod.
Bobby, let me ask you this
Because
question.
Last time I checked,
Bars.
usually the MVP has a way of elevating the player those around.
Well,
him. And if
Jokic had over 8 assists a game.
All right, let me ask you this. Should the NBA
you also
MVP
can't play defense.
be shut down by Grant Williams?
What?
Exactly.
Wait, what?
Good question.
Should the NBA MVP be someone that Grant Williams can shut down?
Well,
No.
Kevin Durant was he's won MVP, and I guess he's kind of.
Jokic been shut down. Jokic been shut down. See,
Yeah,
I used that argument last year, but
Batman.
Grant
I mean,
disappeared,
Batman has shut down some
Still
pretty
out here,
good
by the
players this year. So we
Grant
out here
should
early.
get some Defensive Player of the Year consideration.
Zannis, I would agree with you if this were last season. I would absolutely, but Grant shut down a lot of guys this year that were really good.
I
So
know. I'm just messing around. So here's
let me say this: Giannis is going to go under. It's going to be all Embiid and Jokic. Giannis was right there too. And again, Sherrod, I'm not saying
He was my
Jokic
second
blew
pick.
those. I think he would have been mine too. I'm not saying Jokic blew those guys away. I think he beat them by like this much, but I do think he beat them.
So here's
Well, he's
my
going to
beef
get
on
the
the
award.
MVP is going to be the voting, and that's always been my thing. I'm going to be mad when it's a landslide because I think that's insane.
That's fair. That's
And
fair.
so that's what bothers me is it's close. And so the argument should be, honestly, any of the three could have won it, and I think it would have been okay. But the Jokic people are insistent that anybody who picks anybody but Jokic doesn't know basketball, and that's the frustrating part of the conversation. All of them were MVP worthy.
Well, let me tell you this, John.
You can make a good argument for every single person. I personally would have voted Giannis, and it would have been close. And not because I love because I think he's one of the,
He's
the best offensive and the best defensive player.
I was thinking because you're Greek.
On arguably a team that's going to go to the finals or could go to the finals, or on the defending champs. I think Jokic's metrics are slanted a little bit because his defense looks better than it is because of all of his defensive rebounds.
We're talking about value, though,
and it
John.
knocks his metrics into another chart. I think Luka is every bit as valuable to the Mavericks as Jokic is to Denver. So throw that argument out the window. I think it's garbage. If you're going to go simply by one player on a team that keeps him alive, Luka is the MVP because he absolutely
but he
does
had that first
everything.
Well, then he would win it every year. Then
He'd win it every year. So
Exactly.
I don't like that argument. So I don't want to. I want to toss
But it's
it.
most that's what the award is, John.
It's not
If I was-
entirely. It's whatever you want to for your candidate
It's
to
most
win.
valuable player.
It's a lot of
For
things.
the
Yeah, but
league,
that's subjective.
not your
It's
If it was-
subjective.
if
It's
it
a
was
lot of things.
best-
There used to be a world in which you could not win an MVP award if you were on any team that wasn't 1 or 2
top
seeded,
two.
or a top two team, unless your statistics blew everybody's doors off. If you averaged 40 points a game and the next closest guy was 20, I mean, not at 40, you'd have to have a massive statistical difference.
It's like when Nash got back-to-back seasons because of the success of the Suns.
So
right
now
years.
So the landslide is going to be an over-reliance on analytics that I don't think everybody fully comprehends why, and that landslide's going to bother me because it should be an extremely tight race.
We know why, because the people who are speaking the analytics into existence are the people who are voting.
Yeah,
they're the ones. They're voting. I mean,
he has the counting stats too. He has good numbers. Period.
He has great numbers.
He's totally worthy on
absolutely.
any metric, but it shouldn't be a slam dunk. It shouldn't be a landslide, and it shouldn't be if you didn't vote for Jokic, you're dumb. And that's kind of what the argument turned into, which bothers me.
It is most valuable player though. If we were picking best player in the league, I'd pick Embiid. But the situation and the circumstances, I think, make Jokic the most valuable.
That's crazy talk.
It's not that hard to figure out, Jimmy.
Why not? I mean, dude, like the most valuable player can easily be the best player too. I mean, like
it could be, but this year
wasn't. How can you say Embiid's the best player, but he's not valuable?
All right, what do you guys think about the?
What do you guys? He's not valuable. He's the second or third most valuable player in the league. What do you guys think? What
do you guys think about the AL? Yeah.
Someone said someone hit the button.
Yeah. Somebody hit the button. What do you guys think about the AL East?
The AL East.
I'm just kidding.
The Red Sox are not doing well.
Fuzzy asked that question earlier. That's all.
I went to the Angels game. They 8-0 won last week, and that might be it for me this year. And I love baseball, but
Bobby, I actually don't want anyone to answer that question.
John was being facetious with that.
I had to get it out there because man, I'm frustrated.
Anyway, we are going to wrap it once again. Calm.com. We got ourselves all friggin' worked up again.
We need some calm right now.
Over the MVP.
Don't insert the Red Sox. That doesn't help.
No, that's going to get our blood going. Com.com/garden. Go check it out. 40% off. We're back on Wednesday from the Garden. All of these guys, Jimmy and I stay home because we're losers.
Yeah.
Send me back to Boston.
Yeah. These guys are back at the Garden. Series tied 2-2. Everything looking good for the Celtics. Great win. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out all night long. We appreciate you all. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Give us $50 so I can give it back to Nick because I gave us $50 earlier tonight.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Give us a follow on Twitter if you want to be notified when we go live. We will put it out there. Our Twitter handles are up there now, or you can follow us at Celtics CLNS and all of our good content here. Look to our YouTube channels and our website, CLNS Media, for more post-game content coming from tonight. Until Wednesday, we will see you guys later. Bobby, press the button.
Now you can press the button.